Welcome to participate in today's forum. Many things have happened to remind us that a fair and justice government is essential in today's society. As a college student, the next speaker solves the several problems and unfair solutions of Taiwan's legal tax system.
Hello everyone, I'm Jess, a sophomore who also happens to be a Tai Ji Men dizi. I've been doing Qigong since the second grade at my elementary school. Physically, I was always sick and weak, and mentally I was always timid and had a sense of inferiority. Aside from the obvious improvement in my health, I've also noticed significant changes in my personality. In my childhood, I was afraid to express my ability for fear of being teased by others because I believed I was not good enough. My flaws appeared to be a huge roadblocks that prevented me from accomplishing much. Shifu's teaching is what helped me change, and my brothers and sisters here are always supportive and encouraging. These all contribute to the creation of a distinct me. I am no longer a coward, and as a result, I would seize every opportunity to complete my mission as quickly as possible, which is why I am speaking out against Taiwan's unfair tax. Tai Ji Men was convicted in 1996 as a result of the absurd investigation procedure and fabricated evidence by prosecutor Ho Kuan-ren and the National Taxation Bureau. Ho claimed Tai Ji Men raised goblins solely because he discovered a gifted pitchwood sword. Even some subjective thoughts were used as evidence, but the officials thought whatever they did was rational, despite the fact that it was quite ridiculous. For many years, Tai Ji Men dizi struggled to save their home, and finally, they saw a ray of hope for the miscarriage. The court declared Tai Ji Men innocent in 2007, sounding like a powerful amulet, whereas the National Taxation Bureau continues to threaten Tai Ji Men through unreasonable means and actions. Tai Ji Men dizi fought for their rights for 25 years, nearly a quarter century. Once youth has passed during the long period, and a newborn infant becomes a freshman in the society. Assume that officials construct an impenetrable fort around our habitat, evicting us from our home. We have no choice but to band together and drill a hole in the wall in order to return to our home. However, as soon as we move forward, the officials throw massive stones at us, rendering us injurious. Instead of giving up, we hold fast to our faith, carrying on with our wounded bodies. Even though we don't achieve our goals through violence, we are still extremely enraged and grieved. However, our shifu has told us that we cannot harbor any hatred. We fight them with shifu's guidance, brotherly and sisterly support, and the assistance of people with justice. But what about those who are alone? When the government claims to value human rights, it is absurd that some officials use their power to plunder the property of helpless civilians and deprive them of their rights, as if the officials were nailing those civilians to the wall and whipping them brutally. Civilians must bear the loss of their dignity, the end of their peaceful lives, and the collapse of their living hope. More ironically, the government forbids citizens from forging instruments or sales, and such behavior is illegal and should be punished. However, when it comes to these officials, the cases would be understated. Could they feel the anguish and sorrow that civilians endure? What exactly do democracy and human rights imply? In terms of the government, what on earth is correct and what is incorrect? Some people may believe that tax cases are entirely outside of their purview and have nothing to do with them, so they remain on the sidelines with cold eyes. Only when the cases are directly related to their lives will they try to understand the cases in depth and sympathize with the victims. For instance, being wronged as a murderer or something similar. Some people regard us as bad guys as a result of the government's actions. They veto our actions as a result of the government's actions. When we are fighting for the Tai Ji Men case and the tax victims in the sun and rain, a word from the government can influence the views of ignorant people on the case. What are kingdoms without justice? They are just gangs of bandits, said Saint Augustine, an ancient Roman philosopher. Another famous quote from him is, "An unjust law is no law at all." Furthermore, our shifu stated, we couldn't pay any dollar that we shouldn't pay. We are now under attack from an unseen threat. However, we have a clear conscience, will not give up, and are unwilling to yield. Yielding implies acceptance of their immoral deed and admission of their slander, which results in subsequent persecution of other vulnerable civilians. I sincerely hope that the country can reflect on and correct its own mistakes, return to the people what is not its own, and stop exploiting the people. Several incidents in history have resulted in the death of the dynasty and the country as a result of taxes, either indirectly or directly. I also hope that the government will remember history's lessons and not repeat them, and that you will provide the people with the necessary well-being and happiness. This concludes my sharing. Thank you for your time.
Thank Jess for her sharing. The country should reflect on and correct its own mistakes. Implementing true democracy is to eliminate unfair tax laws and give our people the future they deserve. Taiwan has received a lot of positive reviews as a democracy country during the pandemic, but the tax system is still an unsolved problem. The tax code is so visual to people's lives that government should confront and solve the problems, not sweep them under the carpet. Next, we invite Daniel, as a Taiwanese citizen, to give his opinion on Taiwan's tax law.
Good day, everyone. I'm Daniel. I work as a secretary. At the same time, I am a Tai Ji Men dizi. Taiwan has recently attracted international attention, not only for its outstanding performance in epidemic prevention, but also for being praised by economists as an ancient beacon of democracy. Taiwan is ranking 11th out of 167 countries in the 2020 Democracy Index, the highest in East Asia. Such praise, however, is embarrassing for Taiwanese who are aware of the Tai Ji Men case. Experts and scholars have dubbed the 25-year Tai Ji Men case. Such praise, however, is embarrassing for Taiwanese who are aware of the Tai Ji Men case. Experts and scholars have dubbed the 25-year Tai Ji Men case the tax persecution 228. The prosecutor's abuse of power in detention and the fabrication of false indictments, as well as the cruel persecution of the people. However, the prosecutor has not been punished until now, and he has even been appointed as Deputy Director of the Agency Against Corruption. How ridiculous! Furthermore, a slew of illegal civil servants are on the loose, including tax collectors who issue tax bills based on false indictments, tax court judgments who lack tax expertise and are afraid to issue final judgments, and the National Taxation Bureau officials who ignore fines and the government and continue to issue never-ending illegal tax bills as well as National Taxation Bureau officials and finance ministers who repeatedly cheat and violate human rights to taxation. According to tax experts and scholars, Taiwanese officials continue to issue illegal tax bills just for their performance bonuses and profits that result in continuous over-taxation, tax disasters, administrative failure, economic downturn, and a slew of malpractices. There are also countless innocent tax victims who was subjected to injustices and abuses by the same tax system, lost their wife and children, went bankrupt and died. They are extremely disappointed with the country. So far, however, no one has stepped forward to accept responsibility. The Tai Ji Men case is not only the demon mirror of Taiwan's tax law and justice, but also a comprehensive expose of the evil deeds and the dark history of Taiwan's legal and tax bureaucrats who persecute human rights and seize people's property. Taiwan's so-called democracy and human rights is nothing but a layer of fake skin over deepfake AI technology. To demonstrate the importance of sound legal taxation, I'd like to quote Mr. Daijiro Ola, a former Japanese national tax investigator who studied the historical rise and fall of countries around the world. He cited two requirements for any country to be rich and powerful. The first one is sound tax system, and the second one is stable life for its people. He also provided an example how ancient Egypt was able to survive for over 3,000 years. Aside from its excellent tax system, the system also mandated that tax collectors be compassionate. If a poor person was unable to pay his taxes, tax collectors should not force or compel him to do so, but should instead assist him in lowering his taxes. If the poor still wasn't able to pay, just forget the tax. Egypt also established a regulatory agency at the time. If the tax collector went over his allotted amount, his nose would be severed and he would be exiled to Arabia. As a result, Egypt has been strong and prosperous for the past 3,000 years. However, as the supervisory agency became corrupt around 1300 BC, the pharaohs were unaware that the tax collector concealed heavy taxes on the people in order to fill their own pockets. In the end, many people failed to pay their taxes, were unable to make a living, and were forced to give up their farmland. As a result, the treasury was empty, and there was no money to build the Nile embankment, resulting in flooding and a major disaster. In 1260 BC, the Amen Temple of Karnak rose to power, eventually leading to the disintegration of ancient Egypt. We can see how important a sound tax system to a country after hearing such a story. In fact, the current situation in Taiwan is reminiscent of ancient Egypt's final death. The financial control mechanism is already tended, and the tax collectors continue to issue illegal tax bills in order to obtain more balance. This merely demonstrates that unless the tax system is reformed, Taiwan will continue to deteriorate. I would like to make appeal to President Cheng, stating that you are also victim of the defect event and should be more aware of the harm caused by counterfeiting, and that the counterfeiting of the national tax is even more harmful to Taiwanese citizens. I hope that President Cheng will lead our government in the right direction and dismantling the legal and taxation shame that has long hampered human rights and democracy in Taiwan, and respond to the expectations of the Taiwanese people. Thank you for your attention.
Thank Daniel for his sharing. A sound tax law system can the strength of the country directly. From the fact that the fake Tai Ji Men case has not been faced up to for 25 years, we can know that the Taiwan government does not pay much attention to the tax law and even ignores. The whole country needs to pay attention to this so that the next generation can have a safe future and prevent themselves from becoming the next victim. Thank you for all of you to join the forum today. And if you like this video, please click the button below to subscribe us. In the end of this forum, there's a video for you. It's about Tai Ji Men tax case. Have a good day. See you next time.
Truth about the Tai Ji Men case. Taiwan Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. The National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to revoke the tax bill. Illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Tai Ji Men. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Where is the royal government officials' conscience? Where are justice and human rights? What is the truth about the Tai Ji Men case? Taiwan Supreme Court found Tai Ji Men not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. The National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to revoke the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau illegally auctioned off the sacred righteous people are united with conscience to defend justice, human rights, and peace. The righteous people are united with conscience to defend justice, human rights, and peace.
In Taiwan, we at Bitter Winter saw at work the Taliban of the National Tax Bureau or Taliban of the Administrative Enforcement Agency, 55-year-long persecution of a peaceful spiritual movement in a democratic country such as Taiwan. The Tai Ji Men case is internationally exemplary and important, and yet we plan to continue our campaign about it. Our voice will not be silenced until the voice of justice will speak and solve the case.